Captain Sarah Chen looked out at the stars through the bridge window of the research ship Perseverance. She had been in space for 15 years, but the view never got old. Today felt different, though. Something was wrong with the scanners. "Marcus, what are you seeing on the long-range sensors?" she called to her science officer. Marcus Williams looked up from his console, frowning. "There's something big out there, Captain. About 50,000 kilometers off our port side. It's not moving and it's not showing up on visual." Sarah walked over to look at the readings herself. The object was massive, maybe 10 times the size of their ship. But when she looked out the window in that direction, she saw nothing but empty space and distant stars. "Could it be some kind of ancient structure?" asked Dr. Kim Park, the team's archaeologist. "We are in the outer rim of the Kepler 442 system. There could be old ruins here." The Perseverance was on a routine mission to study old alien sites. They had been traveling for 3 months looking for signs of ancient civilizations. Finding something this big would be the discovery of a lifetime. "Take us closer," Sarah ordered, "but keep the shields up and weapons ready." The ship moved forward slowly. As they got closer, more details appeared on their screens. The object was clearly artificial. It had smooth surfaces and strange angles that no natural formation could make. It looked old, very old. "Captain," Marcus said, his voice tight with worry, "I'm picking up new contacts, multiple ships much smaller than the structure but still bigger than us. They just appeared on sensors." Sarah felt ice in her stomach. "How many?" 12? No, 15. "They're surrounding us." Before Sarah could respond, the space around them began to shimmer. Huge ships appeared out of nowhere as if they had been invisible. Each one was at least 3 times the size of the Perseverance. They had dark hulls covered in strange markings and weapons that looked unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. "Red alert," Sarah announced over the ship's speakers. "All hands to stations." The bridge filled with flashing red lights and warning sounds. The 12 crew members of the Perseverance rushed to their positions. They were scientists and researchers, not soldiers, but they all knew their emergency duties. A new voice came over the ship's communication system. It spoke perfect English, but the tone was cold and mechanical. "Primitive vessel, you will prepare to be scanned. Do not attempt to flee or resist. Compliance will result in quick processing." Sarah grabbed the communication controls. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth research vessel Perseverance. We are on a peaceful scientific mission. Who are you?" There was a pause. Then the voice returned, sounding almost amused. "We are the Hegemony Collective. You are now subject to our authority. Prepare for scanning." Before Sarah could respond, beams of blue light shot out from the nearest alien ship. The beams passed right through the Perseverance's shields as if they weren't there. The ship's systems flickered for a moment, then returned to normal. "What did they just do?" Sarah asked. Marcus was working frantically at his station. "They scanned everything, Captain. Our hull, our computers, our crew. They got complete readings on all of us." On the main screen, an alien face appeared. It had gray skin, large black eyes, and a mouth filled with sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was the same cold tone they had heard before. "I am Admiral Zexthai of the Hegemony Collective. Your scan results are most entertaining." The alien's mouth moved in what might have been a smile, but it looked more like a threat. "You are humans from the planet Earth. Bipedal mammals, fragile, weak. Your technology is primitive. Your ship carries only scientific equipment. You pose no threat to the hegemony." Sarah tried to stay calm. "We're explorers, not warriors." "We mean you no harm." "Harm?" The alien laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You could not harm us if you tried. Your species is pathetic. Soft skin, weak bones, short lifespans. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no significant strength." The alien leaned forward on the screen. "We have scanned your databases. Your entire military history shows only conflicts against your own kind. Small wars on a single planet. You have never faced a real enemy. You know nothing of true combat." Sarah felt anger rising in her chest, but she forced herself to remain professional. "What do you want from us?" "Simple. Admiral Zexthai replied. Your species will surrender. All human colonies will submit to hegemony rule. Your people will serve us as laborers. Your worlds will provide resources for our expansion. And if we refuse? The alien's smile grew wider, showing more of those sharp teeth. Then we will demonstrate why the Hegemony Collective has conquered 400 species across this galaxy. Your extinction will be quick and complete. No human will survive. Sarah looked around at her crew. They were scared, but they were also angry. These aliens had just threatened their entire species based on scanning one small research ship. How long do we have to consider your offer? Sarah asked. Generous terms, the alien said. 72 hours. Send word to your home world. Tell them the hegemony has arrived. Tell them resistance is pointless. When the time expires, we will begin with Earth itself. The screen went dark. The alien ships remained where they were, surrounding the Perseverance like predators watching wounded prey. Sarah turned to her communications officer. Jenny, open a quantum channel to Earth. Maximum priority, military encryption. Jenny Rodriguez nodded and began working at her station. Channel open, Captain. Sarah took a deep breath. This message would change everything. Earth Command, this is Captain Sarah Chen aboard the Perseverance. We have made first contact with a hostile alien force calling themselves the Hegemony Collective. They are demanding complete human surrender within 72 hours. They have superior technology and claim to have conquered hundreds of other species. She paused, looking out at the alien ships surrounding them. They scanned our ship and dismissed us as weak and primitive. They believe humans are no threat to them. They seem to think we're just another helpless species they can easily conquer. Sarah's voice grew harder. They're wrong. Transmitting our location and all scanned data of their ships and weapons. These aliens picked the wrong species to threaten. Chen out. The message shot away through space faster than light, heading for Earth and the other human colonies. In a few hours, every human settlement in the galaxy would know that someone had declared war on humanity. On the alien flagship, Admiral Zexthai reviewed the scan results again. The humans were even weaker than first assessment suggested. Their ship carried no real weapons. Their crew showed elevated stress responses typical of prey species. Their technology was hundreds of years behind hegemony standards. The database information was equally pathetic. Humans fought with simple projectile weapons and chemical explosives. They had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. They had no experience with galactic warfare or advanced alien technology. Most amusing of all, they seemed to value individual lives over strategic objectives. The scan showed numerous historical examples of humans sacrificing valuable resources to save small numbers of their own kind. Such emotional weakness would make conquest simple. Prepare the fleet for Earth assault, Admiral Zexthai ordered his officers. This will be over quickly. Add humans to the conquered species list. The alien ships maintained their positions, around the small human vessel, waiting for surrender that would never come. They had no idea what they had just awakened. Admiral Zexthai stood before the great council chamber of the Hegemony Collective. The room was vast, with hundreds of alien species represented in the audience. All of them had been conquered by the hegemony. All of them now served the Collective's expansion across the galaxy. The Admiral activated the holographic display, showing the scan results from the human ship. A three-dimensional image of a human appeared in the center of the chamber, rotating slowly for all to see. Council members, I present the newest species discovered in Sector 7739. They call themselves humans. Laughter filled the chamber. The sound came from dozens of different alien throats, creating a chorus of amusement that echoed off the walls. Look at them, said Counselor Vrak, a reptilian creature with 4 arms. No scales, no natural armor. Their skin looks as thin as paper. Notice the small teeth, added Counselor Thys, whose own mouth contained rows of razor-sharp fangs. They are clearly plant-eaters, no threat to any predator species. Admiral Zexthai nodded. The scan confirms your observations. Humans are mammals, bipedal, average height 1.7 meters. Their bones break easily. Their muscles are weak compared to most galactic species. They have poor natural vision and hearing. The hologram changed to show human technology. Images of their ships, weapons, and cities appeared in the air above. The Council. Their technology is primitive, the Admiral continued. They use simple chemical rockets for space travel. Their weapons fire small metal projectiles using chemical explosions. Their computers are basic electronic systems, easily hacked or disabled. More laughter from the audience. They have achieved faster-than-light travel, Admiral Zextai admitted, but only recently. Their longest space journeys last a few months. They have no experience with interstellar warfare. The hologram showed Earth and several human colonies. They occupy only 47 star systems, small populations, limited industrial capacity. Their total military consists of perhaps 10,000 combat vessels, all inferior to our technology. Counselor Brith, an insectoid creature with multiple eyes, clicked his mandibles together. What about their psychology? Are they aggressive like the Corvin or passive like the Zhelt? Interesting question, Admiral Zextai replied. The scan revealed some unusual behavioral patterns. New images appeared, showing human soldiers in various historical conflicts. They fight amongst themselves frequently, but only on their homeworld. Small conflicts, limited objectives. They seem incapable of conducting warfare on a galactic scale. The Admiral highlighted specific data points. They show excessive concern for individual casualties. Their military doctrine prioritizes saving the lives of small numbers of troops over achieving strategic objectives. They will sacrifice entire missions to rescue single soldiers. The council members made sounds of disgust and confusion. Emotional weakness, declared Counselor Vrak. No efficient military force wastes resources on individuals. There's more, Admiral Zextai continued. They form what they call emotional bonds with their teammates. These bonds cause them to make illogical decisions in combat. They refuse to abandon wounded comrades even when tactically necessary. Fascinating, said Counselor Theiss. Their pack-bonding behavior makes them predictable. Target their emotional attachments, and they will surrender quickly to protect each other. The hologram showed more human history. Images of Earth's wars, disasters, and conflicts filled the chamber. They have experience only with what they call conventional warfare, armies fighting armies on planetary surfaces. They have never faced orbital bombardment, energy weapons, or psychic attacks. They know nothing of the true nature of galactic conquest. Admiral Zextai paused for effect. Most telling of all, they evolved as persistence hunters on their homeworld. They would chase prey animals for long distances until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. This primitive hunting strategy shows they lack the intelligence for advanced tactical thinking. The laughter grew louder. Several council members were making comments to each other about how pathetic the humans sounded. What do they call their military forces? Asked Counselor Brith. They have several terms: Army, Navy, Marines, Special Forces. But the scan revealed something amusing. They also have what they call militias, volunteers, reserves, and veterans. Apparently, they think untrained civilians can contribute to warfare. The entire council erupted in laughter again. Untrained civilians fighting trained soldiers? Counselor Vrak could barely speak through his amusement. Do they send their children and elderly to battle as well? The scan suggests they might. Admiral Zextai replied. Their historical records show instances of entire populations participating in conflicts. Men, women, children, all involved in their primitive wars. Counselor Theiss shook his head. No wonder they are confined to such a small region of space. Their military thinking is completely backward. The Admiral brought up new data. There is one more thing. The scan detected references to something they call total war. From the context, it appears to be their term for conflicts where they use all their resources. How much resources could they possibly have? Asked Counselor Brith. 47 star systems with primitive technology? Exactly my point, Admiral Zextai said. Their idea of total war is laughably small compared to true galactic warfare. We have conquered species with 10 times their territory and 100 times their military strength. The hologram showed the hegemony's own forces. Massive battle. Fleets, planet-destroying weapons, and armies numbering in the billions. We currently have active conquest operations against 12 other species, the Admiral announced. Adding humans to the list will require minimal additional resources. I estimate complete victory within 30 days. The council members nodded approvingly. What response have they given to your surrender demand? Asked Councillor Vrak. They sent a message to their homeworld. Admiral Zexthai replied. We intercepted it easily. They are calling for help from Earth and their colonies. Help? Councillor Thys laughed. What help can such a weak species provide? None that matters. Their message mentioned something about defense packs and military. Response. Typical primitive posturing. They cannot comprehend the power they face. The Admiral switched the display to show the human research ship, still surrounded by hegemony vessels. The vessel we encountered carries only 12 crew members, all scientists and researchers. They showed fear when confronted, but also defiance. Typical prey species behavior when cornered. Any sign of surrender? Asked Councillor Brith. Not yet. They still have 68 hours remaining. However, their behavior suggests they believe resistance is possible. They have no concept of their true situation. Councillor Vrak made a dismissive gesture. Let them resist. It will make the conquest more entertaining. Indeed, agreed Admiral Zexthai. Their primitive weapons and emotional weaknesses will provide amusing target practice for our forces. The Admiral looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives of conquered species. Does anyone see any threat from this human species? Chamber filled with negative responses. Clicks, hisses, and vocalizations of denial came from hundreds of alien throats. Then it is decided, Admiral Zexthai declared. The humans will be conquered. Their worlds will serve the hegemony. Their people will join the ranks of our servants. The council session ended with sounds of approval and anticipation. The aliens began filing out of the chamber, already dismissing the humans as just another weak species that would soon bow before hegemony power. But in the depths of space, quantum communications arrays were lighting up throughout human territory. Messages were being sent, received, and forwarded at the speed of light. Defense packs were activating. Military commanders were reviewing threat assessments. Industrial worlds were beginning to shift production schedules. The Hegemony Collective had made their first mistake. They had scanned one small research vessel and assumed it represented humanity's full capability. They had no idea that they had just threatened a species spread across thousands of star systems, with colonies hidden in asteroid belts, generation ships traveling between galaxies, and military installations that didn't appear on any public records. The humans had received their ultimatum. Now they were responding in ways the hegemony had never encountered before. General Patricia Hayes sat in the Emergency Command Center deep beneath Geneva, Switzerland. The message from Captain Chen had arrived 6 hours ago, and the entire human military structure was already in motion. Around her, dozens of screens showed fleet positions, colony status reports, and communication channels buzzing with activity. Status report, she called out to her staff. All major fleets have acknowledged the alert, reported Colonel Martinez. Terra Defense Force is moving to full readiness. Mars orbital stations are arming their defense platforms. The Jupiter Mining Consortium has activated their militia protocols. General Hayes nodded. What about the outer colonies? That's where it gets interesting, General, said Commander Singh from the communication station. We're getting responses from settlements we didn't know were still active. Hayes walked over to look at Singh's displays. The star map showed hundreds of small lights, each one representing a human outpost responding to the emergency broadcast. Some of these haven't reported in for years, Singh continued. Deep space research stations, asteroid mining operations, even some of the old generation ships that left Earth 50 years ago. They're all responding. How many ships are we looking at total? Singh checked his numbers. At last count, over 3,000 combat-capable vessels, but that number keeps growing every hour. Hayes felt a grim smile cross her face. The aliens had scanned one research ship and thought they understood humanity's military capacity. They had no idea. What about industrial response? Hayes asked. Major Chen, no relation to the captain of the Perseverance, looked up from her station. Every major manufacturing world is shifting to emergency production protocols. The Titan shipyards alone will have 50 new destroyers ready within the month. Earth's orbital facilities are retooling for weapons production. And the civilian response? That's the really impressive part, General. We're getting volunteer registrations faster than we can process them. The militia call-up has exceeded projected numbers by 300%. General Hayes had expected this. Humans had a particular reaction to being threatened as a species. It was something most aliens never understood. On the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Zexthai was watching his own displays with growing confusion. Long-range sensors were detecting massive ship movements throughout human space, but the numbers didn't make sense. Tactical Officer Droon confirmed these readings, he ordered. Droon, a four-armed alien with compound eyes, worked frantically at his console. Admiral, I'm showing fleet movements from over 200 star systems. This exceeds our intelligence estimates by a factor of 10. Impossible, Admiral Zexthai replied. Our scan showed they occupy only 47 systems. Yes, sir, but we're detecting human energy signatures from systems we thought were empty. Hidden bases, camouflaged installations, mobile platforms we never knew existed. The Admiral studied the tactical display. Red dots representing human forces were appearing all over the galaxy. Some were coming from the known human colonies, but many more were emerging from systems that had shown no signs of inhabited worlds. How did we miss this? He demanded. Unknown, sir. It appears humans have been much more active in interstellar expansion than our intelligence suggested. Many of their installations are hidden inside asteroid fields, nebulae, or other natural formations that blocked our long-range scans. Admiral Zexthai felt something he had not experienced in decades of conquest: uncertainty, but he pushed the feeling aside. Numbers didn't matter if the enemy was technologically inferior. What is the combat capability of these vessels? He asked. Scanning now, sir, Droon replied. Most appear to be the same primitive technology we detected earlier. Chemical propulsion, projectile weapons, basic energy shielding. Then we have nothing to worry about. Primitive weapons cannot harm hegemony vessels regardless of numbers. But even as he said this, the Admiral noticed something odd about the human ship movements. They weren't panicking or fleeing as expected. Instead, they were moving with purpose, taking strategic positions throughout their territory. Back on Earth, General Hayes received a priority communication from the Outer Rim, Defense Command. General, this is Admiral Sarah Okafor aboard the battleship Indomitable. We've reached the outer edge of human space and are moving toward the alien contact point. How long until you reach the Perseverance? Hayes asked. 18 hours at maximum speed. But General, we're not going in alone. I've got ships joining my fleet from everywhere. Mining vessels with improvised weapons, research ships equipped with experimental technology, even some old freighters loaded with missile pods. Hayes nodded. This was exactly what she had hoped for. Admiral, what's your assessment of our response capability? Honestly, General, I've never seen anything like it. Every human settlement within 100 light-years is contributing something. Ships, supplies, intelligence, technical support. It's like the entire species has decided to fight. That was exactly what had happened, Hayes knew. Humans had a peculiar trait that most species lacked. When threatened as a group, they didn't scatter or hide. They gathered together and fought back. Any word from the aliens since their ultimatum? Hayes asked. Nothing yet. But our long-range sensors are picking up massive alien fleet movements. They're bringing in reinforcements from other sectors. Hayes studied the strategic displays around the command center. The aliens clearly had superior individual ships, but humans had advantages they didn't understand yet. Admiral, implement Plan Omega. All vessels are authorized to use experimental technologies and improvised tactics. Standard engagement rules are suspended. Understood, General. We'll show these aliens what humans are capable of when we're properly motivated. The communication ended and Hayes turned back to her staff. Any response from the alien fleet? Commander Singh looked up from his station. Actually, yes, General. We just intercepted a broadcast on all frequencies. Put it through. Admiral Zexthai's face appeared on the main screen. His expression was different now, less confident than before. Humans of Earth, the alien said. We have observed your fleet movements and military preparations. You are making a grave mistake. Hayes stepped forward. This is General Patricia Hayes, Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces. Admiral Zexthai, I presume. Yes. General Hayes, you seem to misunderstand your situation. We have given you 72 hours to surrender. That period is not for military preparation. It is for acceptance of inevitable defeat. Admiral, I think you're the one who misunderstands the situation. Hayes replied calmly. You scanned one small research vessel and assumed it represented our full military capacity. That was your first mistake. Zexthai's eyes narrowed. Your fleet movements do not concern us. Numbers mean nothing against superior technology. Maybe, Hayes said, but you made a second mistake as well. You threatened our people. You told us you would make us slaves or kill us all. These are facts, not mistakes. Hayes smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Admiral, you clearly don't understand human psychology. We have a saying on Earth. You can't threaten a species that conquered its own planet through ice ages, plagues, and global wars. The alien looked confused. What does your primitive history matter? It matters because you're not the first existential threat humanity has faced. We've survived worse than you, and we've learned something important over the centuries. Which is? Hayes' smile grew wider. When someone threatens to exterminate our species, we don't negotiate. We don't surrender. We don't run away. We gather every weapon we have, call in every favor we're owed, and we fight back with everything. We've got until either we're all dead or our enemy is destroyed. The alien was quiet for a moment. You have 67 hours remaining, Admiral Zexthai finally said. Actually, Admiral, let me save us both some time, Hayes replied. You have 67 hours to withdraw from human space and never return. This is your only warning. The transmission ended. Admiral Zexthai stared at the blank screen, trying to process what he had just heard. No conquered species had ever spoken to the hegemony that way. But as he watched the tactical displays showing ever-increasing numbers of human ships moving toward his position, he began to wonder if the hegemony collective had finally encountered something different, something that refused to be conquered. Around him, his bridge crew worked nervously at their stations. They had never seen so many enemy vessels responding to a single threat, and they had certainly never heard any species issue ultimatums to the mighty hegemony. The countdown continued. 66 hours, 59 minutes, and 43 seconds, until the deadline. But for the first time in his long career of conquest, Admiral Zexthai wasn't sure which species would be doing the counting. The deadline passed without surrender. Admiral Zexthai had expected this, but he had also expected the humans to at least attempt negotiation. Instead, they had simply stopped responding to communications entirely. Begin the assault, he ordered, his fleet. Target the research vessel first, make an example of them. The hegemony ships opened fire on the Perseverance with energy weapons designed to disable rather than destroy. Standard procedure called for capturing enemy vessels intact to study their technology and interrogate survivors. But Captain Sarah Chen had other plans. All hands, this is the captain, she announced over the ship's communication system. We're about to be boarded. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're buying time for the fleet to get here, and we're gathering intelligence on enemy capabilities. The Perseverance's shields failed under the alien bombardment. Boarding pods launched from the hegemony ships, attaching to the human vessel's hull with metallic clangs that echoed through the corridors. Captain, called Marcus from his science station, I'm uploading everything we've learned about their technology to the quantum beacon. Fleet Command will have complete scans of their ships, weapons, and tactics within minutes. Good work, Sarah replied, drawing her sidearm. The crew of the Perseverance had never been in combat before, but they all knew how to fight. Every human did. The alien boarding parties cut through the hull with energy tools. They expected to find terrified scientists cowering in their laboratories. Instead, they found 12 humans who had barricaded themselves in defensive positions throughout the ship. The first alien through the breach was met by a shotgun blast from Dr. Kim Park, the archaeologist. The creature's advanced armor absorbed most of the damage, but the impact still knocked it backward into its companions. Primitive projectile weapons, the alien squad leader reported to its ship. No significant threat. But as the boarders advanced deeper into the ship, they discovered that the humans weren't trying to win. They were trying to learn. Every engagement lasted just long enough for the humans to observe alien tactics, weapons, and equipment before falling back to the next defensive position. Captain Chen's voice came over the alien communication frequencies, speaking in their own language. She had learned enough from their earlier conversations to make herself understood. Admiral Zexthai, this is Captain Chen. We've analyzed your boarding parties, energy weapons, physical enhancement implants, tactical coordination systems. Very impressive. The Admiral was surprised to hear the human speaking his language. Captain, you can end this. Order your crew to surrender. Can't do that, Admiral, but I can tell you what we've learned about your technology. Your energy shields are tuned to block directed energy attacks and high-velocity projectiles, but they don't handle low-velocity impacts very well. Before the Admiral could ask what she meant, explosions rocked his flagship. The humans had somehow launched boarding pods of their own, using their ship's laboratory equipment as improvised weapons. Impossible, Admiral Zexthai said. Your ship has no weapons capable of penetrating our hulls. You're right, Captain Chen replied. But we do have mining charges, chemical explosives, and some very creative engineers. Did you know that a standard research probe can be converted into a guided missile with about 20 minutes of work? More. Explosions shook the hegemony ships as the humans turned everything they had into weapons. Scientific instruments became guidance systems. Laboratory chemicals became explosives. Even the ship's coffee maker had been rigged to produce pressurized steam for use as a weapon. The alien boarders found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to behave rationally. The humans used their own ship's systems against the invaders, venting atmosphere to blow aliens out of airlocks, overloading power conduits to create electrical barriers, and even flooding sections with various gases from their research supplies. Captain Chen, Admiral Zexthai called over the communications. Your ship is lost. Your crew will die. This resistance serves no purpose. Actually, it serves several purposes, Chen replied calmly, even as explosions echoed in the background. First, we're learning everything we can about your capabilities. Second, we're transmitting all of that data to our fleet. And third, we're proving something important, which is that humans don't surrender even when we're outnumbered and outgunned. Your psychological profile of our species was wrong, Admiral. We're not afraid of dying. We're afraid of letting our people down. The battle inside the Perseverance continued for 3 hours. When it finally ended, the ship was a burning wreck. But it had taken heavy damage to 2 hegemony vessels and destroyed a third through a ramming attack that the aliens never saw coming. But the real damage was to hegemony assumptions about human behavior. The aliens had expected quick surrender once faced with superior firepower. Instead, they had encountered something they had never seen before. An enemy that fought harder as the situation became more hopeless. Admiral, reported his tactical officer, we're receiving priority communications from Fleet Command. All other human positions are responding the same way. Admiral Zexthai looked at the tactical display. Across human space, his forces were encountering identical resistance. Humans who refused to surrender, who turned every piece of equipment into a weapon, and who fought with increasing determination as their situations became more desperate. What are our casualty reports? He asked. Heavier than expected, sir. The humans are using tactics we've never encountered. They sacrifice valuable equipment and personnel to achieve minimal tactical advantages. It makes no strategic sense. Explain. For example, Human Colony 7 destroyed their own orbital stations to deny us use of the facilities. The explosion damaged 3 of our ships, but they lost infrastructure worth billions of credits. Admiral Zexthai was beginning to understand that human strategic thinking operated on different principles than any species the hegemony had encountered. What about their fleet response? That's problematic, sir. They're not engaging us directly. Instead, they're using hit-and-run tactics, striking our supply lines and withdrawal routes. They seem more interested in learning about our capabilities than achieving immediate victory. The Admiral studied the battle reports flowing in from across the war zone. Every human position fought the same way. Fierce resistance designed not to win but to gather intelligence and buy time. Sir, his communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a priority message from the human fleet commander. Put it through. Admiral Sarah Okafor appeared on the main screen. She was standing on the bridge of a human battleship and her expression was coldly professional. Admiral Zexthai, this is Admiral Okafor of the Human Defense Force. We've been watching your attacks on our people. Admiral Okafor, your people fought bravely but futilely. They are all dead or captured. Yes, they are, Okafor agreed, surprising. Him. And in dying, they taught us everything we need to know about your technology, your tactics, and your weaknesses. Weaknesses? Admiral Zexthai laughed. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships. You're right. Our old weapons can't hurt you. Admiral Okafor smiled. But we've had several weeks to study the technology our people captured from your ships. Human engineers are very good at reverse engineering alien technology and improving on it. The tactical display suddenly lit up with new contacts. Human ships were appearing throughout the system. But these weren't the primitive vessels the hegemony had been fighting. These ships carried energy weapons, improved shields, and propulsion systems that had clearly been upgraded with captured alien technology. Impossible, Admiral Zexthai said. You cannot have modified your technology so quickly. Admiral, you made the same mistake every other species makes when they encounter humans, Okafor replied. You assumed we would fight the same way forever. But humans adapt. We learn. And when someone threatens our species, we improve faster than anyone thinks possible. The first human ships opened fire, and their weapons were no longer primitive projectiles. Energy beams lashed out at the hegemony vessels, striking with power levels that shouldn't have been possible from human technology. How? Admiral Zexthai demanded. Simple, Admiral Okafor said. We took your energy weapons, figured out how they work, and then asked ourselves how we could make them better. Turns out, human engineering approaches solve problems your people never even considered. The battle was no longer the easy conquest Admiral Zexthai had expected. Human ships moved with improved speed and agility. Their weapons hit harder than they should have. Their tactics had evolved from desperate resistance to coordinated assault. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we're taking significant casualties. The human ships are using our own technology against us, but modified in ways our shields and armor weren't designed to handle. Admiral Zexthai watched his carefully planned invasion falling apart. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were learning and adapting faster than any species in hegemony records. Sir, we have incoming ships on long-range sensors. Massive. Fleet formations approaching from multiple vectors. How many? Thousands, sir. And they're all broadcasting human identification codes. Admiral Zexthai realized with growing horror that the small research vessel his fleet had scanned wasn't. 3 years had passed since the Hegemony Collective first encountered the human research vessel, Perseverance. What should have been a simple conquest had become the longest, most expensive military campaign in the hegemony's 1,000-year history. Admiral Zexthai stood in the ruins of what had once been Fleet Command's primary base. Around him, damaged alien ships limped through space, fleeing from yet another human assault. His once mighty armada had been reduced to a fraction of its original strength. Status report, he called wearily to his remaining officers. Admiral, we've lost contact with the 4th and 7th battle groups, reported his tactical officer, one of the few original crew members still alive. The humans have pushed us out of the Altair system completely. What about reinforcements from the hegemony? High Command has reconsidered our strategic priorities, sir. They're recalling all remaining forces from human space. Admiral Zexthai closed his eyes. He had known this moment would come. The Hegemony Collective, which had conquered 400 species without serious opposition, was retreating from a war with humans. How did this happen? He asked, though he already knew the answer. The humans never stopped learning, sir, his science officer replied. Every battle taught them something new. Every technology they captured was improved and turned against us. Every tactic we used was countered within weeks. The Admiral remembered the early days of the war, when he still believed victory was inevitable. The humans had indeed started with primitive weapons and inferior technology, but they had something. the hegemony had never encountered before, the ability to adapt and improve at an impossible rate. "Show me the final casualty reports," he ordered, the holographic display filled with numbers that told the story of the hegemony's defeat. They had begun the war with overwhelming technological superiority and a fleet of over 10,000 ships. Now they had fewer than 800 vessels left, and most of those were damaged. "Human casualties?" Zexthai asked. "Difficult to determine, sir. They don't count the same way we do. By our estimates, they've lost approximately 2 million soldiers and civilians, but their industrial capacity has increased throughout the war. They now have more ships than when we started fighting them." This was the most disturbing aspect of the war. Normal species became weaker during extended conflicts, resources were depleted, populations declined, industrial capacity was damaged, but humans seemed to grow stronger the longer they fought. "Sir," interrupted the communications officer, "we're receiving a message from the human fleet commander." Admiral Zexthai sighed. He had been expecting this. "Put it through." Admiral Sarah Okafor appeared on the screen, but she looked older now. 3 years of war had aged all of them. Behind her, the bridge of her flagship showed signs of battle, damage, but also improvements. Human ships now incorporated the best aspects of hegemony technology, enhanced with innovations that alien engineers had never conceived. "Admiral Zexthai," she said formally, "I'm transmitting terms for the cessation of hostilities." "Terms?" Zexthai asked. "Are you offering surrender?" Admiral Okafor looked genuinely puzzled by the question. "Surrender? Admiral, you're retreating from our space. Why would we surrender?" The alien admiral felt something break inside him. After 3 years of war, the human still didn't understand that she was supposed to be the one losing. "What are your terms?" he asked quietly. "Complete withdrawal of all hegemony forces from human space. Formal recognition of human territorial sovereignty, establishment of a non-aggression pact, and reparations for the damage caused by your invasion." Reparations? Admiral Zexthai couldn't hide his surprise. "What reparations?" "The families of the crew of the Perseverance, for starters. Captain Sarah Chen and her 11 crew members died because you attacked a peaceful research vessel. Their families deserve compensation." Admiral Zexthai stared at her. After 3 years of brutal warfare that had cost millions of lives, she was still talking about the original 12 humans, who had died in the first engagement. "Admiral Okafor, millions have died in this war. Why do you focus on 12 people?" "Because they were first," she replied simply. Captain Chen and her crew died protecting their shipmates and gathering intelligence that saved countless other lives. In human culture, we don't forget our debts to people like that. This was the fundamental difference between humans and every other species the hegemony had encountered. Other species fought for territory, resources, or survival. Humans fought for each other. "Very well," Admiral Zexthai said. "I accept your terms." "There's one more thing," Admiral Okafor added. "We're establishing a memorial where the Perseverance was destroyed. That location is now considered sacred to humanity. Any alien ship approaching within 1 light-year of those coordinates will be considered hostile." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Zexthai alone with his thoughts. In the silence of his damaged bridge, he tried to understand what had gone wrong. The scan of the human ship had been accurate. Humans were physically weak, technologically inferior, and emotionally driven. Everything the hegemony had learned about them was correct, but they had misunderstood what those traits meant. Physical weakness made humans creative in developing tools and weapons. Technological inferiority made them adaptable and quick to learn. Emotional drives made them fight harder and longer than any logical species would. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "long-range sensors are detecting human ship movements throughout the sector. They're establishing permanent bases in systems we thought were uninhabited." "How many systems?" "Over 300, sir. Apparently humans have been expanding quietly for decades. Hidden colonies, research stations, mining operations. We never detected most of them." Admiral Zexthai realized that the hegemony had been fighting only a small portion of humanity's actual capability. The humans had revealed their full strength gradually, drawing out the war to maximize their learning opportunities. What's their current military assessment? He asked. Unknown, sir. But intelligence estimates suggest they now have technological parity with the hegemony in most areas and superiority in several others. The admiral looked at the star charts showing human territory. What had started as 47 confirmed systems now showed as over 800 human settlements scattered across the galaxy. Sir, we're receiving a general broadcast on all frequencies, his communications officer reported. From the humans? No, sir. From everyone. All known species in the galaxy. Admiral Zexthai frowned. Put it through. The screen filled with a dozen different alien faces, representing various species from across the galaxy. The one speaking was a Corvan diplomat, whose species had been conquered by the hegemony centuries earlier. To all spacefaring civilizations, the Corvan said, we are broadcasting new protocols for interstellar contact and diplomacy. The diplomat paused, and when he continued, his voice carried a tone Admiral Zexthai had never heard from a conquered species. Confidence. First protocol. Any species encountering humans should establish peaceful contact immediately. Do not scan their vessels without permission. Do not issue ultimatums or demands. Do not threaten their people or territory. More alien faces appeared on the screen, all nodding in agreement. Second protocol. If you encounter a human ship, assume it represents a species with advanced military capability and extensive territorial holdings, regardless of the ship's apparent size or armament. Third protocol. If humans ask you to leave them alone, comply immediately. If humans ask for your help, consider carefully whether you can afford to refuse. The broadcast continued, but Admiral Zexthai stopped listening. The message was clear. News of the war had spread throughout the galaxy. Other species had watched the mighty hegemony collective struggle for 3 years against humans and lose. Sir, his science officer said quietly, there's something else. Intelligence reports suggest that several species have broken away from hegemony control during the war. They're declaring independence. Admiral Zexthai nodded sadly. This was the inevitable result. The hegemony's power had always been based on the belief that resistance was futile. But humans had proven that even a technologically superior enemy could be defeated through determination, adaptation, and refusal to surrender. Plot a course for home, he ordered. As his remaining ships began their long journey back to hegemony space, Admiral Zexthai composed his final report to High Command. The human species represents a new category of threat, he wrote. They do not follow conventional patterns of behavior or strategic thinking. They adapt rapidly to new technology. They fight harder when losing than when winning. They remember every injury and never forget an enemy. He paused, trying to find words to explain what he had learned. Most critically, they do not consider individual survival to be their primary objective. They fight for abstract concepts like honor, duty, and vengeance. This makes them unpredictable and extremely dangerous. The Admiral finished his report with a recommendation that would echo through galactic politics for generations to come. Under no circumstances should any hegemony force engage human vessels or territory. Avoid all contact with this species. If contact is unavoidable, immediately withdraw and report the incident to High Command.